Rachna, hi, good to have you with us. How have you been?
All good, all good. Thank you for having me over.
Rachna, it's a
Excited
pleasure
to
to
be
have
here.
you. We are equally excited, right? It's a pleasure to have you with us, right? This is a session which has been long in the making, right? I am personally, looking forward to the session largely because sustainable fashion is something which has become so much more important, right? And the good part is, especially what has happened in the world in the last 2.5 years, right? We've become a slightly more responsible ecosystem in general, right? Sustainability has become so much more pertinent and so much more prominent across all of our conversations, right? And everybody in the educational world, I think, is in a certain way and form wants to contribute to this cause of sustainability. Sustainable fashion is something which is leading the entire crusade against sustainability in general as a whole, right? I mean, industrial practices continue to take some time. Fashion is something which is really, really evangelizing the cause, right? And here you are building B77, one of the first brands which is deeply focused on the sustainability practice, right? A large part of the narrative that you're doing at B77 continues to be focused on some of these very deep issues, right? And going forward, which are going to be so much more important, right? For us as people in general, right? And that becomes a contribution to the planet in many ways, right? But what you're also doing, and what also excites me, to get into this conversation, right, is that you're bringing in a lot of international perspective into design, right, for Indian markets. And I think that's been a missing element, right? Especially last 2.5 years, there's been phenomenal growth when it comes to the aspirational side of our audience, right? And they've been continuing to look for styles that are prevalent in global markets, right? Mature markets, so on and so forth, right? And I think the Indian audience is looking for this, right? So this becomes like I said, right, a very, very interesting conversation in many dimensions. But before we do that, Rachna, I'd love you to give a quick round of introduction, and we get into the conversation on B77 and talk about various facets of, you building the brand.
Thank you so much. And you have summarized it so beautifully that I'm wondering what I'm going to say in the next 25 minutes. But having said that, I think the best part is if we have more people consciously thinking the same way as you are. I think the journey for B77 makes it much more easier to reach out to the customer, because it's not always one directional. It's a partnership, which is you as a customer and me as a person who is bringing something to you.
Sure.
So B77 actually came through, if I may just give a small background about that, through the lockdown. A time when I got down to sitting down and thinking and realizing what are we doing with our lives.
Right.
And apparel industry, as you very well said, is the second largest pollutant in the world.
Right.
It's sad to see. And it's scary to see children wearing masks. It's not just corona, we are hiding away from pollution also.
Right.
And it got me to think that, I've been part of the industry for over 30 years, contributing in my own way in both fashion, style and everything, but also the pollution.
Right.
And thankfully, I was spending a lot of time with my father, who got me to watch a lot of David Attenborough, and I realized how we are diminishing the forests. And it's time for us to make a conscious and a honest effort to contribute back to Mother Nature. One life, one earth, one us. So we just need to make that very, very effort to try and do. But having said that, without fashion, it's difficult to do it.
Right.
So we need to make our sustainable apparel very fashionable, easy to wear, look good. Each one of us aspires to look good. And why? Because the fabric is sustainable, should be compromised on looking good. So I think that's where B77 stands out, that we are making you look fashionable even with the basic fabrics.
Super. That's phenomenal, right? I think that's a great drive, right? That's a great I don't know, possibly a milestone, right? If I can, slightly more holistic, right? But I think a great vision to sort of change in the process. And for a market like India, I think the complexity is just so much more, right? You'll have to possibly do this your way for a very, very long time, right? To really sort of go out and evangelize the cause, right? Now,
yes and no. I think India is evolving, getting very conscious. I think that is why my focus has been India as a market. It's huge. In terms of apparel market, if you really look at it, the figures show 2019, 9.1%, and they said by 2025, we're looking at a 32% growth. And the Western apparel in India, as you can see all around you, people are wearing it. But are they getting what they want to wear? Like you said, fashionable, sustainable clothing. Here we are to clothe you fashionably, sustainably, nature-friendly. Even if you are, we're trying to train the whole system and do it in such a way that you value everything that you wear through the journey. right from designing till execution.
Super. Yeah, Rachna, I'd love to understand the construct of it, right? Now, you, somebody who's been in the exports business, right? When you understand the nitty-gritties of, delivering to the finest of standards, right? And my sense is all of that exposure and experience has been brought into, building B77, right? I'd love to understand the construct of it, right? Are you working with many partners in the process as you are building the brand, or is there a certain design setup and a manufacturing setup that you have? I'd love you to talk about the team as well, right? Because this is something which is just so much more complex at many levels, right? And also because the demographic demands are so dynamic, right? I'd love to understand some of these pieces of the overall construct.
Okay, so it's fantastic to take you through the journey. It makes me reminisce a lot of my memories. Yes, I have been part of this journey as a manufacturer. We have a manufacturing setup, and we've been doing work for the last 25 years across the globe with many international customers. But having said that, like I said, B77 is a brainchild for both me and my sister Nupur Mathu. She's based out of Singapore.
Sure.
And we both put our minds to it, and we felt that it's time for us to contribute. So what we did was we have set up an entirely different team here. So we have a design team which is headed by a gentleman experienced with 22 years, and youngsters, because I believe the sustainable journey also means not just the inputs in terms of material, but the whole thought process, the whole ethos, which is giving opportunity to. So while the lockdown was on, most people weren't even getting any opportunity. Forget jobs in this industry.
Right.
They weren't even getting internships and things like this. So when we started this business, the brand, the first thing that struck me was that it is an opportunity to give youngsters also who have been poked up in their rooms and houses and trying to get degrees and not lose out. So my team comprises of youngsters who are freshers, who passed out in the lockdown. In fact, we were part of their graduation journey and they have been part of the designing team. They've done a phenomenal job, if you ask me. Because as you see, we have a very defined target audience. You see, what we did was we identified, we weren't in a rush to bring out the brand overnight. We put a lot of thought in it. We identified the segment of the people we want to address.
Sure.
There are lots of people addressing the youngsters. There are lots of people going up and, reaching out to them. But then I said, what about people like me? Who's designing for us? Who's looking after us? And typically our age group, let's say the 30 plus, are aspirationally we have made an effort to be fit, and we are trying to do many things around the journey. But naturally, you do go through your challenges in your body structure. So being fit is a struggle you have. Getting clothes which fit you well, getting fabrics you feel comfortable wearing. I mean, it's like saying, I want to wear something that speaks of me. And I want apparel which is addressing me. So we're targeting age group over there, and we have been looking at trying to stylize garments which are very international looking. My years of experience and understanding, I hope, reaches out to the customers as well.
Super. We've had the chance to see the product line, right? And I think it looks very slick. It just looks up to the mark, right? And I think that's essentially what. I think I qualify as an audience, right? I think that's essentially what we're looking for.
Fingers crossed. Yes, I do.
Interesting. Now, Rachna, there's something very interesting that you highlighted, right? And we're going to talk about that through the course of the conversation, right? But having these youngsters to come in and be part of the sustainability drive, I think is so much more important, right? Because while you're doing what you're doing, I think there is a certain evangelism that needs to be created, right? I think there's a lot of conversation that needs to happen around it. I think youngsters today, I find the world to be in better hands tomorrow because of the sincerity and the integrity that they bring to the table, right? And I think they're very, very conscious when it comes to, initiatives like B77, right? Going out and advocating for them, standing for them, right? And also it creates a very thick community of sorts, right? In the process. We're going to talk about some of that in the course of the conversation, because community is something which has become very important for any brand which is operating on the consumer front, right? In the D2C front, when digital is very heavy. We're going to talk about all of that, right? But, you touched upon a very important point, right? That is that of segment. Now, this is a market. When you're talking about, a category which is say upwards of 30, right? Which essentially means that, people know their preferences, they have their brand established, they have, the possibility of them shifting out is going to be thicker. Is going to be difficult, right? Their affiliation of
it's going to be trickier, I would say, but
it's
not
trickier.
impossible.
It is not, right? Now that just complicates the entire situation for you, right? As a new brand, right? Because unless you really go out and create that dent, unless you build that kind of a relationship, unless you're part of that purchase process, right? Which could mean that could be a slightly longer term affair or an effort where you have to incentivize the user a lot, right? There are those complexities that start to come into the entire equation, right? I'd like to understand, how are you tracking some of that? How are you visualizing, some of these, solving some of these intricacies, right? Because these are very, very delicate points. Would love to understand.
Absolutely. These are delicate yet very valid points. The journey of a D2C brand as it is much tougher than any other brand that you have on the store. You can go shop and buy. But we put a lot of thought. Like I said, this brand hasn't happened overnight. It's been a thought of brand. So from identifying the target audience to understanding the audience and the need of the hour, we realized technology is our partner. And what we have done is the first time in Asia where we have, particularly in India, we have taken it as I don't know if you've had the opportunity to go through our heat mapping on our website. So the biggest challenge that most people face when they're shopping on a D2C platform is my size right? Am I going to look good in it? So what our platform does is you're able to actually create an avatar and fit and see your product. On how it's going to look on you, the fitting. And that's one of the biggest challenge I think this target audience has, even though we are tech savvy, but buying and shopping on this on the D2C platform is never so easy. But luckily for us, technology has advanced so well and so beautifully that you can actually see. And some of the responses I get are so interesting. One of the customers who's got back to us is saying, "Hey guys, you're very distracting. I didn't understand that for a minute." She says, "I'm sitting in a meeting and all I'm doing is fitting out your clothes." Now I think that's one way to have made a mark, because besides shopping, she's sitting in a meeting, trying it out. It's so easy to use it. So yes, that's been part of one of the ways we have found the journey easier. Besides designing clothes which make the whole cut and the appeal is so global that it makes the selection much easier. And at the end of the day, believe me, apparel and all the creativity is mera wala pink. So it's always going to be Ashu's pink or my pink. So it's always going to be there. So yes, it is tough, but we're not worried. We're going to keep finding ways to make it much easier for our customer to shop, to like our products. We are thinking of newer ways all the time. And like you very well said, we have a young, dynamic team. So we are going to keep reaching out to all.
Super. Awesome. Rachna, one thing that I want to understand, right? Now, you kind of mentioning of size and fitting, right? Now, just for a clarification standpoint, right? For many people who are going to be listening to this, are you positioning B77 as a custom, as a platform which does custom fittings? Or are you universal fittings, but technology helps you identify your sizes right? Would love you to clarify that.
Okay, so we're not bespoke, very clearly. Okay, what we have done is, with so many years of experience and understanding, we've realized the challenge points where the customer in this profile struggles with. So I have made a spec sheet or a measurements and styling in such a way that it makes the whole fitting journey and looking journey with a good fit look better. Clothes which flatter you, hides those dangerous points of the body discreetly. And of course, we have technology which makes you select the correct size.
Interesting.
If you see multiple times, in fact, if you've gone through recently, a lot of brands have had to back out of the return policy purely because people had started shopping 3 sizes and keeping 1 and returning 2. Now that's crazy. That's crazy. However big you are, it's not fair. And the other challenge we're looking into is hygiene. This whole Corona thing has taught us one thing, and particularly I think in India, hygiene. I don't feel like walking, and I mean, a lot of people have told me they don't want to go and try out apparels in a trial room because you don't know who sweated it out and worn it before. So once again, our technology is going to help the customer sort of fit and see how it's going to look on them, drape on them, because it's actually their avatar which is created over there.
Interesting.
So it's pretty much, I mean, I would say it's like a 90+ % results over there. And I myself have been shopping B77 with that.
Interesting. No, I think that's a very strong. There's a very strong business logic to it, right? And I'm sure you already know this. but just for the people who are going to be listening to this, right? So in fact, Textile Ministry, Government of India, in partnership with NIFT, right, is doing India size, right? Now I think which is phenomenal, right? And I think that is going to reduce this problem for, I think, many brands, right, who currently continue to sort of face this issue of returns, right? And I think returns is a massive pain point for I think all brands out there. Sorry, you're making a point, Rachna.
No, I think that is very important what you said, that the textile industry Indian textile industry has been at it for the last 2 to 3 years, and we as a brand started our journey by touching base with them and wondering if we can sort of hasten up the whole process, but it does take its own time. So in between, like I said, we figured out that we need to do a bit of our own R&D, and we did a lot of research and study on this, and saw a lot of body structures and studied it. We brought out I think the fits are getting a fantastic response. So we are somewhere down the line. So maybe the textile industry needs to touch base with us.
Interesting. Absolutely. Yeah. I think everybody has a role to play, as far as that is concerned. Rachna, I'm gonna, would love to understand, what is the SKU base? What are the price points that you are, are selling at, right? Are you entering the market at? Would love to understand that.
So what we've done is that we've tried to make the price points so easy to pick, that it doesn't put the burden of sustainability on our customer. We don't want to do it. So what we have done is we have priced it very sharply.
Okay.
All right. So they're very well priced apparels, and I would say the base prices are something like 2,200 rupees.
Okay.
Right up till, of course, depending on how the inputs are and what the product is and the styling is. But it has been a conscious effort for me to keep the prices well in the comfort zone of a customer to find it easy to pick. Because besides the entire thing that we're both talking about, that wanting to be sustainability, unfortunately, price has a very big factor to play. And to make this whole decision-making journey easier for the customer, we have tried to make the price points easy for them to pick up.
Interesting.
That's where our direct-to-customer setup comes in very well. So we are not heavy on inventories. We are able to do it fast, so we don't have to burden our customer with anything extra.
Interesting. There's a very interesting question that is, while I'm listening to you, right, that's just come to my mind. I'm going to ask you that in just a bit, right? But before that, I'd love to understand, what is the traction like? What are the current numbers? If you could give us you're an early stage company, right? So it's an unfair question, but I'd love you to give us some sort of idea in terms of what's happening.
It's a fantastic question, Ashu, because my answer is brilliant. So
please go ahead.
The Google Analytics and the feedback that I recently got, which was just over the weekend, and my marketing team turned back with saying that, do you realize what kind of traction we've got? We've got 15,000 people visiting us, which is phenomenal. So I love your question. And for a brand which has been in the market all of 60 days, I think we're doing very well. We are selling at least 1 to 2 pieces a day, which is interesting, encouraging. Yes, having said that, you'll always find me sitting with my fingers crossed, because I think we are making a mark. We want to take those steady steps, long ways to go, long miles to go and cover. But the journey has started off very positive. Thank you so much for that.
Very interesting. Okay. Rachna, I'd love to understand one more thing, right? Now, this is a slightly more complex question, right? And this is actually an offshoot of, one of the points that you kind of highlighted, right? Now, one thing that 2020 has done is, right, that it's just opened up this economy, right, to a massive consumption appetite. That consumption appetite always continued to be there. There were lack of visible reference points, when we looked from a consumption standpoint, right? And that was largely because, buying was essentially, dependent on a physical environment, right? Availability of, goods and products there. And then, of course, what was available online and so on and so forth, right? And of course, there's been a huge sort of, an element of distrust, right? That online had to sort of cover in the process. Last 2 years has been absolutely spectacular because it's just changed the mechanic completely, right?
Yep.
Now, while that has happened, right, this appetite is only swollen. There's a bigger problem, right? And that the bigger problem is that there are fads that are going to fly faster, right? And that's not just true for fashion business, right? It's very serious for fashion business, but that's also true for many other businesses, right? What that essentially means is that, today what is possibly right, tomorrow, and when I say tomorrow, that could possibly be a quarter, 2 quarters, right? You might have to very quickly change your line of products, right? Like I said, fashion business is the first thing that's going to happen, or the first line of business which is going to have to, kind of bring in those changes, right? To accept and sort of respond to these behavioral shifts will have to be fashion, right? Because, today the consumer is watching all sorts of content, right? They're getting influenced. They want to buy that particular dress, top, trousers, suit, whatever, right? What's your sense of it? How are you looking at some of this environment, right? Because in a way, it's difficult for an early stage brand. In a way, it's a very, very strong positive, right? Because you're not heavily capex, not large corporate costs, which essentially means that you can respond to an equation like this much faster. How are you looking at this particular dynamism which is coming to the entire consumption story?
Okay, so first of all, let me just start off with a very cliched statement. B77, as in the name 77 means progress, passion, and positivity. So I have all the three put in together. I believe that the future will have its own challenges, and as a company, we will be updating ourselves with whatever the need of the hour is. It's part of business, all right? Fashion itself is ever evolving. It is never stagnant, which is what makes it so interesting. And as and when the need of the hour is, we will be, changing the modes, the requirement, the styles, the require. So I think that's why we have a very dynamic team and a setup, which is very agile, which is capable of, sort of adapting what the requirement is going to be. Yes, as you very well said, this is a perfect dream period of time for the D2C platform, but one doesn't know how long it's going to last, whether it was just because of the corona lockdown, fear of going out and shopping, or is it a reality? I think it's going to be a bit of both. Okay. And as I see it, as of now, we are a D2C brand and we think we are going to reach out and we're getting a fantastic response. But having said that, one of the biggest thing of any business has to be the agility and the ability to adapt. B77 has that. We are looking forward to building the D2C platform as well as we can. And we want to reach out to as many people because our client segment across the globe is also the NRIs, where we are looking at reaching out. The Indian body types are not being addressed across the globe also. So we've had a very good response from there as well. So that market for us, I think, will always stay as a D2C platform. Our technology does help the customer feel the drapes of the fabrics and things like this. And I think technology is only developing and developing. And the younger generation, unlike me, who loved to walk into a store and feel the things, basically doesn't want to walk into the stores, everybody, and in fact, I see more and more people like my age group also feeling the pressure of having to go through traffics, to malls, it's just changing. So let's see, but we are ready to face any of the new changes. In fact, that may be very interesting for us to adapt as well. We are ready for whatever the requirement and the need of the hour is. But as of now, we are a D2C platform. We're going to give it 100%. We're going to grow globally on it. We are already there in Southeast Asia. And we are looking at partnering with people in the United States of America. We've got a very good response from there as well. So let's see. Yeah.
Rachna, time and again, you've referred to yourself as, a slightly senior person of sorts, right? I honestly, because of the conversation, I don't think that's true, right? I think the enthusiasm that you bring into the table, right, and the energy and the focus and the sharpness that you bring to the table, I think is just the age, right? I don't think you should be mentioning that. I think you resonate that of a user.
That's exactly what I'm trying to say, that if age is just a number, I feel as young as my daughter who's 19 and my son is 23. So I feel as young and more energetic. And I think this is the best phase of most of my teaching. When we believe in ourselves, which the B is, and we believe we can do it. So I think after having done it, this is the time. It's just a fantastic time for most of us, the TG, where we don't need to worry whether it's 2300, 33, 43. It's again a number. It needs to look good. It needs to look good. It needs to feel good, and it just is good. And
Rachna, I think you have a larger role to play, right? And I think that's honestly, that's a statement that I make pretty much in all conversations that I have with women entrepreneurs, right? Because the ones who are doing what they're doing, right, is just so phenomenal, so spectacular, right? And their motivation is just so infectious. there are many women who are going to get motivated, right? So I think apart from building B77, you have this another additional role to sort of play, is basically evangelize this concept of doing a thing, which is just so much more important, right? And I think in India, more and more women need to cross over, right? That's how I kind of see it.
I'm taking that ahead, Ashu. I don't know. We are doing something called the B Collective. That is a platform where we are giving an entrepreneurial opportunity to people. Right. And typically what happens is that, all the, and this could happen for youngsters also. It's nothing to do with the age over here. Because what happens is typically, all of us study, do very well, but doing a job is not everybody's cup of cake, They're doing a job.
Or it's saturated.
Yeah, or it's saturated. Very well said. So it could be there, but each one of us has a creative built in us. Right. Each one of us aspirationally wants to do something. Right. So B Collective is a platform which we are creating for men, women, both, where they may aspire to be designers, to be business people, to be able to create a platform. So what we do here is, but see, being a designer is not just about sketching at garment, There are lots of inputs to it. You have to have the right fabric, you have to have the right print, you have to have the right laces to make it look beautiful. Right. Essentially, coming back to the fit, you've got to write the right specs. So what we do is, here you can come onto our platform, register with us. We partner in with you and bring all your designs and wanting to wear. I mean, a lot of times I meet people who say, oh, we don't get this. So I say, come, design with us and we'll make it good for you. So they come back saying, hey, listen, I want to make a dress which goes here, falls like this. So my design team sits with them and they all work it together. They design a style which is handheld with the person. And of course, then I think it's a very interesting platform. They get the return on the investment that they put in. They're entrepreneurs, and for me it works out to reaching out to more and more people and building a community who speaks about sustainability, who speaks about being conscious of us. And I think that is very important for us to go ahead.
That's amazing to hear that. I think the power of community is just so much more important, right? And especially in today's time, and especially the CACs are going up, right? But I'm going to save some of that for our next conversation, Rachna. Moving into, we are towards the end of our conversation, right? My second last question.
I'm sort of enjoying it now.
Like I said, right? We're not going to, all good things have to come to an end, right? We're going to save some of this for our next conversation, which is going to be slightly more deeper, right?
Absolutely.
And that's not what are the next 2 years like, 2.5. I would love to ask you a 5-year question, but I'm going to stick to a 2-year question. What are the next 2 years like? What is it that the milestones that you've set for yourself?
So the next 2 years look very promising because, like you said, that for the next 2 years, I think D2C is the way to go. Right. I don't think anything's going to happen in the next 2 years where the D2C platform is concerned. It's very fresh. It's enjoying its space. It's going ahead. We've started off very well, strong funded. We've been essentially bootstrapped in here, and we've got a lot of support from friends and relatives. We're looking at pledging up our marketing. We're looking at essentially increasing the product line, which is a good platform for me. Nothing like the Asia Tech Journal to say that we're coming out with the men's collection.
Wonderful.
So yes, we are going to come out with the men's collection very soon. Right. And so that's the next part. And we're looking forward to doing more and more on the sustainable story. We've called ourselves B77 Life because we're going to make it as a lifestyle brand as we grow. But first step is men's collection.
Super.
So yes, 2 years are exciting me. I would love to answer the 5, but you didn't ask me. So
I don't want to, right? Because I think 5 years you're going to look like a very, very different brand, right? I think the kind of impact that you would have created is just going to be so much more different, right?
Yes, I'm hoping.
And I think that gives me another opportunity to come back to you, right? And talk more, right? On what you've done, right? So I think I'm saving that for
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to that. And I think sustainability, the language will be a truth. Because we in B77, one thing I want to say here is, let's make it as honest as possible. And that is only possible when all of us partnering. It's not about me. It's about you. It's about the rest of the world holding hands with us as we do it. Let's not value the zero as much as the hero, which is the sustainable story. We are making an effort to buy you the right materials, but give you a material which you can even put in your washing machine. But everything can't be put together unless you're ready to hold hands with us.
Absolutely.
So I request all customers also to hold this journey close to their heart. Let's make it a better world for our children. And I think
totally.
that's where we need to. I think that's where this TG needs to work hard. What we have done all right, but now talk better, make the world a much better place, make small steps, but conscious steps in the right direction.
Honestly, you in a way answered my last question, right? And, but no, I think I completely resonate with what you're saying, right? I think we need to, make this a better place for our children, right? I think that's a responsibility that we have, for whatever we've gotten. And I think that's
for
a
us also, we've got a long way to live, a long way to fight.
Yes, right. But I think a priority today has to be, the children, right? And unless we start working today, right? I think, a lot of this takes time, right? All of the facets that you mentioned, right? Are very, very complicated because there are many layers that we exist in, right? It's not an easy one, right? It's not an easy one. I wish we were a more homogeneous economy, right? And a more fair economy where everybody had everything, right? I think, a concept like this would have been captured.
Beyond the economy. We need to think about it. We need to create the economy.
Absolutely.
We need to create the thought process. And we focus so much on our children becoming doctors and engineers and everything. But if they're not living in a healthy environment, it's not going to happen.
I think this is responsible living. This is responsible
living, even for you and me. Even you and I, whatever the journey we have here, who wants to live with masks? We've got such pretty faces. Who wants to hide behind a mask? I want to live a life. Yeah, absolutely. I think it's ridiculous. I remember reading a sci-fi book many, many years ago when they said you'll have to wear masks and hide in bunkers. I'm living in a nightmare. I don't want to hide behind a mask.
Interesting. I think I completely agree with that, Rachna. Last question, right? Cliche. You've answered some part of it, right? But I think I'm gonna change. I'm going to twist this one, or I'm going to turn this one, right? Something that I alluded to in one of my earlier points. I think you're in a very unique position, right? And when I say unique position, is to motivate many, many women out there, right? I'd love to end this conversation with any advice, suggestion, learning that you've had in the process, right? That you would want to share for it to become a reference point for many, many out there, right? Because, for some reason, I have had the opportunity of interacting with so many brilliant women out there. They've been on the fence. Right? They constantly, they need that support, reassurance, push, motivation, right? To cross over. What's been unique in your journey, right? In your learning that you would want to pass on, right? That helps them decide better. I'd love to end this conversation with that. Over to you.
Believing in myself and believing in a better tomorrow. And you can only do it if you know what you're doing. Right. So make a conscious effort, love yourself. I'm my favorite person, like Karina said. I look at the mirror and fall in love with myself each day. Bringing up teenagers has not been easy because that's the time when you realize you're the worst. I've been Cruella, but the only thing that has taken me throughout my life has been I've had many challenges in my business. I've been right on my flat pace, and every single day I got up saying, once on your floor, the only place is up. And that's what you have to believe in. Each day is special, and make it special for yourself, not for the rest of the world. You are who you make, not the world. And that has nothing to do with woman power and all. It's about the power within yourself.
Right.
I think that is what it is. And once you believe in it, there's nothing stopping you.
Super.
Nothing.
Rachna, this was an absolutely spectacular conversation. Loved every bit of it, right? And I think this is just so much more motivating. Like I said, right? I have a daughter, and I think the world is going to be a better place when there are more women in charge. It's going to be a more responsible place, right? When there are more women in charge. And I think this is something which is going to possibly help many of them think deeper.
The saying has changed. Behind every successful woman, there's a man.
I don't know about that. I don't know about that, right?
I think men like you and fathers like you. I had a fantastic father-in-law, husband who still is with me at this moment, a son. I think it works both ways. Let's not get into gender-based. I think all of us need to hold hands, make this world a much better place. I think we need to understand the meaning of the song, and I think we need to start living it.
Super. And I think it was phenomenal to have you with us, right? Thank you so much for this very high energy conversation. Usually I'm the one with high energy, right? But I think more often than not, I don't have my guests, and they're largely on the thinking side of it, right? But I think this has been absolutely spectacular. Thank you so much for doing that, right? We wish you all the very best with B77.
Thank you. And
And
do shop our grass. Do shop our grass. Do shop our
absolutely.
any silk. We have some beautiful fabrics. Don't forget visiting us and
I
shopping
will.
with us.
I will. I
Thank you
will.
so
And
much.
you know, and you know, and I've saved some of that for myself, right? So that we can come back and have another conversation. But it's been spectacular. Rachna, thank you so much for doing that. Look
Thank
forward
you.
to having you with us much more. Thank you.
All right. See you. Bye bye. Have a good day.